So what was like the early years of anime YouTube like then? Like and like so that was over like what? Well, how long have you been doing YouTube for? 12 years, did you say?
Since 2007.
Okay, so how was the Anitube sphere from 2007 to 2012?
It's like slow, right? I imagine?
It was very slow. So before 2012, which is kind of like where I think you came along, the quality was not good,
obviously.
Obviously.
as it is, but it was fun. I don't know. I kind of, in a way, I'm going to sound so boomer saying this, but I kind of miss old YouTube where kind of anything went.
You always look back fondly at the time when it was smaller and more manageable because it was more intimate. Right?
Yeah.
And you always look back at that period, especially on YouTube, right? As well, I'm sure you all missed the time when you made like 1,000. You could just talk to random people. And
Yeah,
you're like, wow, you're so cool.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember I made a video when I hit 1,000 subscribers, and I thought I'd made it. I thought,
Mom, I'm dropping
Dude, I swear, like, I've always said this to people, but the joy of hitting 1,000 subscribers is almost comparable to hitting like 100,000 or 1,000,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Because 1,000 is just like, whoa.
No,
because
1,000 is like monumental.
it is because it's a number that is very easily like quantifiable, but it's also huge because thinking like, wow, there's 1,000 people who like me.
Yeah.
Because once it gets to like 1,000,000, it starts to become something that you just can't really comprehend, like physically. Whereas 1,000 is like, holy shit, I'm popular. I'm fucking popular.
and back then it was. You know, as it grew into, it was all about doing anime reviews, and a lot of people had different styles. If you came in with an editing software, you were the
goat.
You were the fucking
Look at this guy. Get a load of this guy.
I remember when like Yezu Otaku and Tristan Glass Reflection came along, and they used Sony Vegas to edit their videos, and it fucking blew my mind.
They used a paid product. Damn.
Yeah, just some of the stuff they could get away with that I couldn't, using like putting images on Windows Movie Maker. What the fuck? It was amazing.
Basically a glorified PowerPoint.
yeah. But I think my favorite anime reviewer from back then was this guy called Grumpy G-san.
I fucking love him, bro.
I do not know this person.
So good.
Yeah. He's an OG and he doesn't make videos anymore. But what he'd do is that he'd do anime reviews, but he'd do it in like the middle of a desert in Arizona somewhere, right?
He would review an anime while like hiking through the desert.
Yeah. So he was like he was basically pre-Casey Neistat.
This sounds great.
Because what he'd always start off his videos with with him walking towards the camera in like the middle of the desert. No. So what he would have to do is that he would have to set up his camera, hike away off screen, and then fucking hike back into view of the camera. And it wasn't like he was hiking a short distance. He would literally be like hiking over hills and mountains sometimes to get to the camera. And yeah,
How long was his intro? Like just 2 minutes?
Because it was just like super sped up, and you just see him walking towards the camera. So it'd be like a squirrel just like scurrying like towards the camera, and he's like, "Today we're going to talk about Berserk."
Dude, this sounds amazing.
And I love as well how a lot of his reviews, he always had like a place to go, right? So he would start with at the front of the trail being like, today we're going to talk about, Hunter x Hunter. And then as he's walking, he would talk about the show. And then usually the one I saw, I forgot which anime it was, but he was hiking up this mountain. And he must have like perfectly timed this shit. Like he must have done the hike beforehand, because the moment he got to the top was when he finished his conclusion on the show.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I've made it to the top, guys, and that's the end of my review. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, like thinking back, it was very different from what everyone was doing. And we were just like, old man reviewing anime, that's pretty weird. But thinking back, a lot of his ideas were really cool.
Yeah, it was.
It's kind of ahead of his time.
He was definitely ahead of his time, yeah.
And that's why he stands out to me, apart from the guy who fucking killed himself, I guess. No, not killed himself. Killed someone else. But yeah, it was kind of like the Wild West back then. I mean, all of YouTube.
I mean, wasn't the internet the Wild West back then?
So if that's the first era, right, where you're like, 2007 to 2012, what came after that? What's like the era? What years are we talking between? Because I'm interested, because I didn't start till 2015. So all of it before that is like,
Yeah, I'd say around about, I can't remember exactly when it was founded, but that was kind of like the Wild West of YouTube, where everyone was kind of doing their own things. It was a mess of different things. And then 2012 was kind of like where the AniTube community really started to form into this one conglomerate. And I think the big event that happened was probably Potaku.
Potaku was huge.
Yeah.